The story in 1 Samuel, which just read a while ago, pictures to us of two armies in their own camps, each occupying the side of a mountain and a valley in between. Out of the camp of the Philistines, there was this giant Goliath, the champion of the group. To prevent bloodshed, he proposed that just two men will fight, and whoever was victorious on the battlefield would claim the other's army. Now, this was not a bad proposition or challenge if you were evenly matched. But here was a man who was nearly 9 feet tall, weighing over 300 pounds, whose spearhead alone weighed about 20 pounds. It would be similar to Michael Tyson fighting Mother Teresa. When Goliath made this to the nation of Israel, Saul and all Israel were overwhelmed by this seemingly undefeatable opponent. And Goliath came out every day for 40 days until one day David came and had observed that the Israelites were running back to their camp. They were afraid. The young David then cries out, "Who is this Philistine that defies the armies of the living God?" And he went immediately to King Saul and offers his services to meet this giant of a man in battle. Well, Saul at first told David that you are still too young. But David insisted, "I have already killed a lion and a bear in combat." Finally, knowing that something had to be done and seeing no one else ready to volunteer, Saul consented and gave David permission to go into battle. He gave David his armor, but it was too heavy for David, and he could hardly move. So he took off the armor, instead went down to the rushing stream, bent down, chose 5 smooth stones, and went with his slingshot to meet the giant Goliath in battle. Goliath could scarcely believe what he saw. He laughed and made fun of the little boy David. Goliath said, Am I a dog that you come at me with a stick?" But David never veered from his steady course. He shouted back, "You come to fight me with a sword and a spear, but I come to you in the name of the Lord, the very God whom you have defied." David whipped out his sling, loaded a stone, wound up with a flick of his wrist, and down came Goliath to the ground. The Philistines watched as David stepped forward and decapitated Goliath with Goliath's own sword. Listening to this story, we also can find or look at giants of our lives. Like Goliath, probably we feel that there's nothing much we can do. But like David, we need to have faith in a God who never leaves us. When you have a dynamic combination of faith in God and faith in yourself, you also can go out to defeat the giants of your life. When we face challenges in life, we too often say, "It simply cannot be done." I think we need to learn to sing, "Have thine own way, Lord, have thine own way." That day long ago, the young shepherd boy, David, demonstrated not only to the pagan gods of the Philistines, but also to the God-fearing nation of Israel that God is never missing from the road of life. God never leaves us alone, giving us powers, so we can face head-on the giants of life that threaten to undo us. Some think that faith is puny thing, but remember, it is the most powerful force that we have as we face the giants of this world. With his faith, David was able to place his focus on God and not the problem, obstacle, or opposition. Our biblical text shows that David said, "The day the Lord will deliver you into my hands." Everybody else looked at Goliath and thought he was too big for them to tangle with. But David looked at Goliath and thought he was too big to miss. At the Last Supper, Jesus told his disciples, "Look, you're going to have all kinds of problems when I leave you. You'll have good days and bad days. All the rest of your life, it's not because of anything you did or didn't do. It's just a part of life. It happens to us all. The difference for you and the others is that you have me. I will be with you every step of the way." Now, another thing facing our giants that we need to remember is that we need to prepare ourselves for the encounter. Today, we live in an instant society. We have instant coffee, microwave meals, and then we have also instant ramen noodles, where we just pour hot water and then mix it and ready to eat. How many times have you heard a person tell you that they are going on a brand new diet to lose 30 pounds in 30 days without any changes or modifications in their eating habits or lifestyle? To achieve success and excellence in a chosen field of endeavor, there must be sweat, hard work, and burning of the midnight oil. If you want to pass the exams for students, one has to study. If one has to write a paper, one must spend time reading materials, doing research, not just to copy and paste. Facing the giants and the large challenges of life and be victorious, there are no easy humanistic methods. Sometimes we have also giants in our relationships. We think that we cannot do anything with that kind of relationship and that we give up. But here David shows us that if we have faith in God and we are ready to forgive and to ask forgiveness, relationship can be better. 𝐿𝐼𝐴 was born in a small mining town in South Wales. There was a cave-in at the mine, and 14 miners were trapped. For 72 hours, rescuers worked around the clock to save them. And then, the quiet darkness of the mine, they listened and they heard the men singing, "O God, our help in ages past, our hope for years to come, our shelter from the stormy blast, and our eternal home." Today, I want to share the good news to all of us who feel like quitting when the giant task of life seems so overwhelming. God will give you the courage to see it through. Focus on God and the abundance of God's power and presence. Take your eyes off of the giants who might be in front of you. God is able to give us the victory. Prepare ourselves for all the circumstances of life, and we will never be defeated. But we also need to know that it's not just preparation that is needed. We need to move on from the planning to the playing field. When God said, "I love you," God did not send a postcard. Instead, God sent Jesus. David acted. "You come to me," said David to Goliath, "with a sword and with your spear, but I come to you in the name of the Lord. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands." So he goes forward into battle. He swings into action because he knows that God shall be with him. Like David, no one can fully serve the Lord without some effort, which propels us to go forward. Now take note, in the story of David, the emphasis here is not on the heroic David. It is not because David was a hero. The purpose for the story is to tell us of God's faithfulness to us. If David were here this morning, he would be the first to tell us that it was God who gave him the victory. Let me close with a story that was told to me by Gene Barnes. He said that the great composer Alexander Borodin had a little granddaughter who was a great favorite. One day he lifted her up on a piano bench and invited her to play a duet with him. Using 2 fingers, she pecked out the familiar chopsticks. If you play the piano, maybe you are familiar with this. While Mr. Borodin improvised and accompanied, she was absolutely delighted. So her proud grandfather set it down on paper and named it Kotelatan Polka. A friend, Franz Liszt, added variations and adapted this piece for a fall orchestra. It was later played and recorded by the Columbia Symphony Orchestra. When Borodin played a recording of this piece for his granddaughter, she said in great awe, "Was that me?" If any of us plays God's song, it will be because God in His grace placed us on the piano bench, put our fingers on the right keys, and taught us His melody. How wonderful is the grace of God. It is the story of a God who whispers to us that we can do it, that God will be with us, that with God's help, we shall prevail. David reminded Saul of something important, something Saul and all of Israel had apparently forgotten, that God also is part of our battles with the giants. We are remembering is that we are not alone. We don't face the giants alone, and we never have. So remember the times God has been with us in the past. God will continue to be with us today and will ever be in the future. And may God give you the grace to respond like David, to face the giant task of life and claim victory over it. Amen.